Alright, hello and welcome back to another Mr. Pisto Plays Magic the Gathering Arena Brawl video. This time, Strixhaven, School of Mages, just around the corner in the next day or two. The Elder Dragons, I think, are some of the coolest legendary creatures in the set. They are probably what I'm most hyped for this set. So I thought, hey, let's make a video. Let's dive into some of the cool cards that we might be able to play from older sets, from this new Strixhaven set, in the Brawl format. All right, we're just gonna jump right in. Our first of the Elder Dragons is Velomachus Lorehold, 7 mana, 5/5, flying, vigilance, haste. Seems like a lot of mana, kind of is a lot of mana in these colors. Being able to attack and look at the top 7 cards of your library, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value less than or equal to Velomachus Lorehold's power from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So what are some cool spells? Kind of thought, let's look at the base of power of 5. There are different ways you can modify it to make it bigger, but then you're playing around with other things. I thought some of the cool spells that you might be able to cast off this to just get free value: Valakut Awakening, Storm's Wrath, because it doesn't actually kill Velomachus. Clash of Titans is a really cool one, having 2 target creatures fight. You can have 2 of your opponent's creatures fight. One of the new spells, Rip Apart, dealing 3 damage to a creature or a planeswalker, destroying target artifact or enchantment. I think this card just goes in the deck. It's not the best hit, but it is definitely very flexible. Lorehold Command, 5 mana. It kind of fits right there. That's probably one of the reasons why it's 5 mana. Create a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain indestructible and haste until the end of the turn. Indestructible is quite nice because you may be attacking Velomachus into something you don't want to attack. Lorehold Command, it deals 3 damage to any target, and target player gains 3 life. So you're gaining 3 life and you may be destroying something, or you can sacrifice one of your permanents and then draw 2 cards. So it's very flexible depending on where you're at and what's going on in the game. It can help get Velomachus through, or it might just give you an extra blocker, make your creatures bigger. Like I said, make Velomachus indestructible. I think Double Vision is a cool enchantment for this deck. It's not something I've really ever played, but giving basically whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So if you can get a free spell off Velomachus and be able to cast it with Double Vision in play and get 2 free spells, that seems pretty cool to me. Plus it also synergizes well with how I think the deck's probably going to have to be built. And then another 6 cards. Some ways to double strike with Velomachus. Unleash Fury, Kaya's Onslaught, and Raking Claws are all essentially double strike-esque cards. The first one doubles the power of your creature. So if you want to try and spike a really big spell and play a couple of really big spells, you could play something like this on Velomachus. You can Kaya's Onslaught and Raking Claws, which gives double strike to your creature until the end of turn, which is pretty cool. Heraldic Banner is one of the ramp spells we will be playing in the deck. We need to play as many as we can. This one's also cool in that it makes Velomachus 6 power, so you can start spiking different instants and sorceries, and maybe you build the deck that way. Then there's another way of giving double strike, but the Blade Historian is a little bit fragile, but pretty cool. And then Radiant Scroll Wielder. More often than not, you're probably going to play a decent amount of burn spells. So giving your instants and sorcery spells lifelink is very cool. And then being able to effectively exile one of those instants and sorceries you've already cast at random, and you can cast it this turn. And if that spell was exiled this way, it'd be put into a graveyard exile instead. It's a really weird clause. Just makes it so that no matter what happens, the spell stays in exile. That's kind of what they were getting at there. It's a little harder to deal with than the Blade Historian, but yeah, I think Velomachus Lorehold could be fun. I think it's going to be a challenge because the first time you cast it at 7 mana, they're probably going to kill it. They're probably going to hold on to some kind of spell. And it's very hard to keep up a protection spell when you're casting something for 7 mana. Maybe this leads down a more Boros, or I should say Lorehold, aggro style deck with this as your very, very top end and like your only really big spell in the deck. But yeah, gonna be cool, gonna be fun, gonna be interesting. All right, who's next? Next we have Galazeth Prismari, 3 mana or 4 mana 3/4 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you get to create a treasure token. Artifacts you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell. The instant or sorcery spell is a little bit restricting, but it is very, very much these colors identity and what they want to do. Blue green has always, or blue red has always been that kind of stuff. I think Ilvilda, Dean of Protection, and Nasari, Dean of Expression could be cool, 2 cool Strixhaven cards for a deck like this. Exiling an instant or sorcery card from your hand, putting 3 what are they called again? Hone counters, and then getting to cast it for much less in the later in the game. Something like Creative Burst might be nice to do that with. Creative Burst is also just a great card to try and use to get into your graveyard to create one of those treasure tokens, or you're generating a lot of treasure tokens. Nasari, Dean of Expression, 5 mana 4/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your opponent's library. Until the end of turn, you may cast spells from among those exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though they were any color of mana to cast those spells. Kind of fun to play with your opponent's deck, especially when they're playing colors you can't. And whenever you cast a spell from exile, put a 1/1 counter on Nasari, Dean of Expression. So this works with some of the other mechanics like Foretell and Adventure. So it could be a cool card just to build around as a commander itself. The Prismari command is okay for our format, dealing 2 damage to any target, drawing 2 cards and then discarding 2 cards, creating a treasure token, which is right up Galazeth's wheelhouse, and then destroying target artifact. It's got some play, definitely. Spectacle Mage is kind of cool. 3 mana 2/2 that makes your instants and sorceries that cost 5 more, 5 or greater, to cost 1 less. So Creative Outburst would then be 6 mana instead of 7, which could make a difference. Practical Research could be 4 mana instead of 5, which could make a big difference. Drawing forwards and discarding 2 cards unless you discard an instant or sorcery card. We're probably playing a very high count of those kind of cards in the deck. So cool draw spell. And then there's some interesting ways. Bigger cards from older sets, Seagate Restoration, Boon of Wishes. If we can get some of these little tiny artifacts to be put onto the battlefield, it's quite cool. Crystal Slipper would be nice to give our stuff haste, and being able to it's basically a 2 mana rock for our instants and sorceries, so it's kind of cool. Soul Guide Lantern, being able to exile graveyards is very important in this format, and the fact that you can ramp instant and sorceries with it, with Galazeth Prismari in play, makes it very valuable. Golden Egg, drawing cards. You can, if your mana screwed, you can use it to add mana, but there again, Galazeth makes it tap for a mana. And also you can gain life if you are feeling like you're far behind. You pay 2 to sacrifice it to gain 3 life. And then Spare Supplies is another one of those artifact draw spells that can also help you ramp, or you can sack it to draw a card. I thought that would be kind of an interesting thing to play around and play with. So that is Galazeth Prismari. There's going to be lots of cool builds, and I look forward to playing with it. Then we have Tanazir Quadrix. This is probably the one I'm most excited for. If you been watching my videos, you can kind of tell my color preferences, and green is very high up there on my list of colors I'd love to play. Flying, trample, 4/4 for 5 mana. When it enters the battlefield, double the number of 1/1 counters on target creature you control. That is I think that's going to be really cool. Whenever it attacks, You may have the base power of toughness of other creatures you control become equal to Tanazir Quadrix power and toughness until the end of turn. So in theory, you could probably build like some kind of go wide token deck. I found those to be very hard to build in the restricted card pool that is our Brawl format. So the 1/1 counters thing is probably where this is going to go. So having cards like the Quadrix command, Body of Research, I think is going to be really funny with this. Hopefully your Body of Research survives. Create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, put X/1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of cards in your library. And then if you play Tanazir, you get to double those. So it's very, very cool. Quadrix command, return target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand, counter target activated or artifact or enchantment spell, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature. Target player shuffles up to 3 target cards from their graveyard to their library. So this has some nice graveyard interaction. The 1/1 counters are very relevant for this kind of deck. Countering an artifact or enchantment spell, there are always good ones to counter. Returning target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand is great tempo. So you could like counter their artifact, bounce their creature, and now you've time walked them effectively. Renata called of the Hunt, getting more 1/1 counters on your creatures as they enter. Vorinclex Monstrous Raider, doubling those 1/1 counters that your permanents get. Hydra's Growth keeps doubling 1/1 counters. Stonecoil Serpent is a great creature in this format. It scales really well with the game, and Tanazir can double those counters on it. This is a very one build kind of deck. I put Verzal, the Spirit Current, or the Split Current in this as a cool idea. Whether or not it's all that good, maybe. But it can be a 4/4, a 5/5, a 6/6, a 7/7, an 8/8, a 2/2, whatever size you need, kind of like the Stonecoil Serpent. And then you maybe throw in some of those kicker cards like Into the Royal, the one that makes Drakes, although I don't know if that one's all that good. But it's just a big 1/1 counter creature, which is really nice. Wildwood Scourge, here again, 1/1 counters. Pride Milliken, giving all your creatures with 1/1 counters. Trample, Nadir Kraken. This is one of the rare blue cards that actually interacts with 1/1 counters, being able to make it bigger along with making little 1/1 creatures for blocking. The Ozolith, I think, is going to be great in a deck like this, being able to store the counters and move them as you go. And Invigorating Surge, I think, is a very powerful card. Putting a 1/1 counter on a creature, then doubling the number of 1/1 counters on that creature. If you've watched my Vorinclex videos, I'm pretty sure I got to play with this. If I didn't, it does bonkers things with Vorinclex in play. That's Tanazir. I really do think it's a fairly linear style of deck, but it's going to be a fun one. All right, on to Shadrix Silverquill. This one I had a little bit of a, harder time trying to put together something. I think it goes best in either a Voltron style, because it naturally has double strike, or some kind of control-y deck. It is a 5-mana 2/5 with flying and double strike, so in some ways it's a 4/5. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may choose 2. Each mode must target a different player. The May ability here, I missed the first few times I read this. So you can pick one and just pick yourself, from what I understand with this. Target player creates a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. I think that one's one of the better ones. Target player draws a card and loses a life. Well, in late game, if you're top deck mode, that's great. Target player puts a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Another creature that you could maybe try to go tokeny with. I don't know if it's the best way to do it, but you could. So some cards I think play well with this. Some of the token-esque kind of cards with like Starnheim Unleashed, making a bunch of angels. Cubwarden mutating onto this would be kind of cool, giving it lifelink. And then you can start building up your 1/1 creature, white cat creature tokens when you attack or when it mutates. And then you can put 1/1 counters on all those, or you can make another token. Dramatic Finale, giving all your creature tokens +1/+1, and whenever one or more non-token creature you control die, create a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. This ability triggers only once each turn, so being able to generate some creature tokens that way. There are 3/2 flyers, which is pretty powerful. Felidar Retreat, I think, is one of the better token enabling cards in the format. Getting a 2/2 cat or a 1/1 counter and vigilance to all your creatures every time a land comes into play is kind of cool. Sedgemoor Witch, one of the new cards, which has the new keyword ward, which is this spell gets countered unless a certain thing happens. In this case, it's paying 3 life. And then whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell or copy one, you get a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. Silverquill command, I put it on this page. I think it just goes in your deck. You have to build around it a little bit in some ways, but giving Shadrix or Shadrix +3/+3 is kind of nice, even though it is at instant speed. Returning a creature with converted with mana value, that's going to take some time to get into my vocabulary. With converted mana or with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, target player draws a card and loses a life. Target opponent sacrifices a creature. I don't think it's the best one, but I think we're gonna give it a try for sure. Another way is this kind of a control-y kind of shell. Demonic Embrace, you can make your Shadrix Silverquill a 5/6 with flying and double strike. That seems pretty strong. Luminarch Aspirant is part of that Voltron-y type thing. You just keep pumping Shadrix. Kaya the Exonerable is just a very powerful Orzhov, or in this case Silverquill spell that does a lot of things for you. Sir Conrad the Grim, I love this card. It is a pet card of mine. When I do end up getting to play EDH, it is definitely going to be something I build around. And the 2 cards I thought would be quite interesting with Shadrix are both Eradicator, Valkyrie, and Rankle Master of Pranks. These 2 are really cool, especially because you can make yourself a 2/1 flying white and black creature token, and then you can use that creature token with Rankle or with Eradicator, Valkyrie to do the sacrifice thing, so your opponents have to sacrifice a creature. Eradicator Valkyrie I think is a little bit better because you don't have to actually make contact. You could attack, trigger this ability, they sacrifice a creature. Maybe it's the only creature they have with flying, maybe it's the only creature they have. Rankle has to actually hit in order for this to work, but hey, kind of some cool synergy there. And then the last of the Elder Dragons is Beledros Witherbloom. If you got to this far, like, subscribe, notify so you can see my content. I know I haven't been posting much, but Strixhaven is here. We're in it. This another 7 mana dragon. This one's a 4/4, so it's even more fragile. It does have flying like them all. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. Pay 10 life, untap all lands you control, activate only once each turn. I don't know how good this is going to be in our format. I think it's kind of broken in Commander when you start at 40 life. We're definitely going to be playing a lot of ramp spells. We're in the right color, we're in green. I'm not sure how powerful this is going to be. Going to take some playing, some testing to figure that out. But some things we could go with this: Valentine, Dean of the Vein, and Lisette, Dean of the Root. I think Lisette is a little bit stronger with the whole gaining life, putting 1/1 counters on all your creatures. You can either sacrifice or do something with one of your pests to kill the pest to gain a life to trigger Lisette. Kind of some cool synergies there, and giving a whole host of creatures trample is really good. Also, I think Valentine is good. You play it, then you kill something. The whole paying 2 mana to get a 1/1 black green pest creature token when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. That's a little bit expensive, but exiling creatures instead of just straight up killing them is so good in this format. I think it's so good in any format, and yeah, I think it's going to be a very powerful card in a kind of a, I guess, Witherbloom control style deck. Blex Vexing Pest. I think this card is just kind of fun. I don't know how very good and synergistic it's gonna be, but giving other pests, bats, insects, snakes, spiders you control +1/+1, and when it dies you gain 4 life. I think it's gonna be a fun card to build around as a commander. I didn't put the sorcery side on because I don't think we're ever going to cast that spell. When I build this deck we will talk about it, but that'll be later in the format. 10 the pests I think is going to be really cool. There are some very large creatures that don't cost a lot of mana in this format, so being able to sacrifice a creature like that at instant speed when it's going to die already and getting a bunch of those 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens, I think is going to be baller. Callous Blood Mage, very versatile card. This is going to be a pain in the butt with Yorion in standard and in historic. Just the ability to draw a card, either make another blocker, the exiling target player's graveyard. That is crazy for a card like this. This is going to be so good in Yorion, but we're not talking about Yorion. We're talking about Beledros. And just having graveyard hate attached to a playable creature, I think it's going to be good. Not in this, even in this kind of deck, but in all black decks. And then Witherbloom Command. This is the Witherbloom Command, so it's 2 mana sorcery, so it's quite quite inexpensive. Target player mills 3 cards, then you return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. So if you want to hit them, you can mill them, and if you have a land in your graveyard, you can take that. If you want to try and dig for a land, you can dig for a land. Destroying target non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. Lots of little tiny things running around this format. Definitely something that is useful. Target creature gets -3/-1 until the end of turn. You're only killing really little things, or you're shrinking something. The shrinking something usually doesn't matter, but that mode needs to kill, or target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So end game, they're at 2. Bop, you got a little bit of a burn spell. And then we have some older cards. We have the Deathless Knight. This card's kind of cool with the fact that you can return it from your graveyard to your hand when you gain life. Very synergistic with those 1/1 black green pest creature tokens. Great blocker, great attacker. Chevelle, Bane of Monsters. I think it just goes in most of your Golgari style decks. Being able to draw cards and gain 3 life when the creature with the bounty counter on it dies. It's very powerful. Nisha of Shadowed Bow is a really fun planeswalker. We built there long time ago when I first started this YouTube journey. And just being able to bring creatures back and having stuff happen with landfall, it's very powerful. Lethal Form Engine I put on this slide. It could probably go with every single one of these banders. Beledros, being able to get, you're effectively getting 3 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens, but you can also, I'm pretty sure you can copy that, untap all lands you control. You pay 10 life, you put that trigger on the stack, you copy that triggered ability, you untap all your lands, and you tap them again for mana, then you untap all your lands again and then tap them for mana. You can generate a lot of mana. At least I think that's how that's gonna. We'll find out, hopefully. And then we have Return of the Wild Speaker. We're making a bunch of little tiny 1/1s, so giving them all +3/+3 until the end of turn will be quite nice, and that could play really well with this Lisette, Dean of the Root. If we can trigger a life gain before you do that and give them all trample and then give them all +3/+3, pretty good there. Drawing a card, you're only drawing 4 with Beledros if Beledros is out, but there are a lot of big creatures that we're going to play alongside this thing. So I think this Witherbloom ramp control big creature style deck is going to be pretty good. And then Stormweb Weaver. This is a reach, hexproof from blue. Whenever it is dealt damage, you gain 1 life and create a 1/1 green sapling creature token. I think it's just a good card to help us protect ourselves before we can get there. It plays really well with Blex Vexing Pest because it is a spider and it creates, too bad it doesn't create spiders. 1/1 spider would have been so much better. But anyways, I digress. Like I said, I think Lithoform Engine, there's one card that's going to play really cool with all of these cards for the most part. Lithoform Engine is one of those. All right, that wraps up all 5 of our Strixhaven School of Mages Elder Dragons Brawl kind of preview. Which Elder Dragon do you think is the coolest? Which one are you excited to play first? Drop a comment, like, subscribe, notify, and we'll be getting up lots of Strixhaven content in the weeks to come once the set is released. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. From Mr. Pisto to you, take care. Bye for now.